RTGS.global is a cross-border payment and settlement company. So we provide the network and the technology for banks who are our customers to move money from one currency to another currency for payment between their customers immediately and without cross-border risk. The main problem today with the payment market, the cross-border market, is the difficulty banks have moving money from one currency to another. That's at the heart of the problems, and that ultimately leads to a lot of difficulty for banks and their customers making cross-border payments. They take too long, they often go wrong, they often are lost in the ether while people call each other and saying, where's the payment? They cost a lot of money, and the banks have to manage all that foreign capital every day, and they have to hold a lot of money spare against the risk they're running because they hold that money with foreign banks in different countries that they have to maintain a relationship with. So it's expensive, it's slow, it's difficult, it's just not fit for purpose for today's world. And as technology continues to improve in the world, the gap between what people and companies demand and what the banks can provide using the old methods of making payments between countries will get bigger and bigger and bigger unless it's addressed. The RTGS.global solution completely rethinks the job of making a payment between one country and another. So today, banks use a method called correspondent banking. It's very old, it's back a long time, and it's at the heart of the reasons why the payment process is so difficult. RTGS.global redefines all that, and what we do, we say to our banks, you hold your money in your local currency, and actually you hold it somewhere really secure, for example, with the central bank of your country. It's called central bank money. The money's put into that central bank account, and every RTGS.global bank in every other country does the same. And RTGS.global in real time manages the positions of money in each of those accounts, just like a settlement system would work in a country, a domestic settlement system. So we do a similar thing, but on a global level, which is why we're called RTGS.global. And if you do things that way, you take away that managing money in different currency problem. You take away that knowing my bank in a foreign country problem. You take away the long chains of payment between banks. It becomes one bank in one country, one bank in the other country. And you take away the risk that maybe you'll make a payment in your country and the bank that needs to make the payment in the other country, like dollars for example, won't be able to. They'll fail, there's a problem. RTGS.global takes that problem away because the payments happen in one single point in time. The word we use is atomic, where the money either goes from one bank to another by a movement in one currency, a movement in the other currency, managed by RTGS.global, or nothing moves. We never have that halfway house problem. So by rethinking how you move money from one country to another, completely rethinking, using modern technology, modern techniques which are available now, which maybe weren't available 20, 30 years ago, we've completely redesigned for the better how cross-border will work. And we're now taking that to market. Today, for a customer of a bank, all those problems create delay, they create uncertainty, the bank will charge them a lot of money to make those payments, and the risk involved of making those payments is quite high. As a result of that, banks have a number of countries where it's just hard for them to make payments into. So if you have a customer of a bank that happens to have their customers in certain countries where that bank cannot reach because it hasn't got the connections with other banks, that makes it very hard for that company to do its business, to earn its income, to grow. So the problems today hold back companies, they create problems for people, and they prevent the smooth movement of money around the world. RTGS.global is what we call a fintech company. Fintechs are new companies which use modern technology, new technology, to solve problems which have been very difficult to solve in the past with older technology and slow-moving projects. So fintechs are companies that attack problems. So we are a fintech, we are a young company, we have very new technology, we've looked at the problem, which is cross-border, and we have solved it by using creative thinking with input from banks that we work with around the world and experts that we work closely. So we are a fintech in that context. But we're also what is called a financial market infrastructure, FMI, because to move money or to help banks move money between each other, you have to be highly secure, highly controlled, highly reliable. And to do all those things, you have to be set up as a recognized financial market infrastructure. So we're quite special in that we are both an FMI, but in our culture, how we think, we are a fintech. The pace of new technology becoming available is increasing and increasing. And the newer technology, for example, cloud and microservices, make it possible to do some wonderful things in the banking industry, in fact, any industry that in the past has been very difficult to do. So what's happening is that new players, so in the banking world, new banks are being created that use this new technology, use cloud, use API program interfaces, use methods that make them much, much more effective. So lower costs, greater value, better services, more effective than they would be if they were using older technology. So if you are the CEO of an established bank using older technology, you've really got to make that shift, because if you don't, then over time, the new players would be a lot better in what they can offer than what you're offering. That shift to cloud is a very important first step because it creates the ability to do many, many more things more quickly than you can do if you have your technology in your private data center. So that's the first step to take. RTGS takes away a number of complications and difficulties that banks would otherwise have to manage and wrestle with. And we do that because we have looked at the problem of cross-border payments in a new way and created something much, much more simpler that requires much less back and forth messaging between banks for a payment to move. So because we're simpler in our design and more elegant, we don't create those problems. We also are a very new company, so we run completely on cloud. And that means we're very, very easy for banks to use. They haven't got to install our technology, they purely connect in the same way that on your iPhone or your Samsung phone, you would connect to a music site, or you connect to a video site, or a bank. Banks will connect to RTGS Global in the same way. So it's really easy. And also, we have developed the technology with the latest standards for messaging, which has all of the information required, or would be required, for making payments back and forth. And that's different to what happens today, where those messages are very constrained in what banks can say to each other. So because we're new, because we're much more elegant, and because we have a simpler design that's much more impactful, we take all those problems. We also remove the chains of banking, where banks today have to route payments through several other banks. With the RTGS model, a bank will only have to connect via RTGS to one other bank, and RTGS Global manages that transaction atomically, so that either the payment goes completely, very, very quickly, a few seconds, or it doesn't go at all. For example, our prototyping earlier in the year and our piloting have proven that we can make a payment from Western Europe to Australia in 7 seconds, without failures, without rework, without the need to put money into Australia beforehand, for 7 seconds. And if you imagine what we can bring to the region with that speed and that simplicity, there's enormous benefit here. The RTGS Global design includes a number of market-leading inventions which dramatically improve the control over identity and over proof of who has done what in a payment flow. So we have a product which we have developed with partners called ID Encrypt, which revolutionizes how we can prove who is who connecting to our network. We also, because we are cloud, run within the Microsoft cloud network, which has its own layers of deep security. And also, because we are API connected with banks, and we have a simpler, shorter chain, where there's only one bank in one side, one bank on the other side, versus today where you have long chains of banks, there are less banks involved in the process, and they are much more likely to have a direct relationship with the ultimate company or person making a payment, or the company and person receiving that payment. Whereas today, a number of banks in a payment flow are in the middle. They're neither close to the payer, nor are they close to the receiver, the beneficiary, and that creates problems. So with our RTGS model, because it's a simpler single network with one bank on one end, one on the other end, customer, payer, receiver, we haven't got that chain. So modern technology, new inventions around proving who's who, and also the ability to transact without those chains occurring is very important. RTGS Global is genuinely market leading in our design and our thinking. So there are a number of other companies who are looking at the problem. It's a well-known problem, and lots of people have been trying to solve that problem. And I guess they fall into three categories. One category are the legacy providers who have been around for a long time and are trying to upgrade their technology to chip away, to gradually reduce the problems that are there. They will never solve them, but they're trying to control them. And Swift is doing that, and other legacy companies like Swift. The other category are fintechs, new companies like RTGS Global, which are looking to use cryptocurrencies, crypto assets as a way to bridge a payment between a bank in one country and another country. That's one method. The method that we're using, which we're very excited about, is a very simple way of just managing the money held that our banks hold in their local currencies with a very safe provider like a central bank, or it could be a CBDC at some point in the future. We can do that. The central bank, and we then manage the movement of flow of money between those accounts. And because of that, we are immediate. So we move money in microseconds. We are never in the flow of funds. So we're not a bank. We are purely a provider between banks. We don't need any other asset in the middle. We purely connect, and we're not legacy messaging. We're very simple. So we think we're market leading, and we're very excited about that. And we've learned a lot from earlier attempts to solve this problem, and we think we've got a strong winning solution. This is my first time in Uzbekistan, and I'm super impressed with the country, the city, the people. The conference was a delight to attend, and the energy level and the willingness to try new things and the desire to be market leading are tremendous. And we've had meetings with over 20 banks in this conference. In just a couple of days, we've had very good follow-up meetings. We've signed our banks as well in this conference. So this is a country, a region, which is really going through a lot of change. And I think it has an attitude towards new technology, new solutions, doing things really well for the 21st century, not living in the 20th century. It has that appetite that you don't find in many countries. So I think this is a very special part of the world. And I think this is a region, and Uzbekistan, a country, where we can have a really big impact working very closely with the creative banks and the thought leaders in the local market. Our short-term goal is to grow our network. So with any new technology, new solution, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We've done our design work, we have the theory, we've built our technology, we've built our company. What we are now doing is onboarding banks so we can show them the value. You have to be able to show the benefit you're bringing. So it's not theoretical, it's real. People can taste it, they can feel it. And by getting banks working with us, getting those flows going across RTGS.global, we also learn more. So we learn about what banks need from what we are offering, how they can provide that to their customers, what an app on an iPhone or a Samsung phone could do if the bank that provides that app is using RTGS.global. Now we have our ideas, but by working with banks in the region and worldwide, we fine-tune the value and we learn more, and we just get better and better working with our banks. So we're targeting this region, also the Middle East, Southeast Asia, Africa, Latin America. So we're going to regions of the world which are fast changing, fast growing, with a real can-do culture. And that's what you have here, which is so exciting. I think in 20 years' time, 10, 20, 30 years' time, I think we'll see money moving in the same way that information moves today. So we will have our iPhones, you're videoing me, this will be shared very easily with other publications, other sites, very painlessly. No one thinks about what's going on. No one thinks about the clever technology that makes that possible. In banking and making payments happen today, you have to think about it because it's difficult, it's hard, it's slow, it's painful. What's gradually happening, and we are part of that journey with RTGS Global, is a shift to a world where me paying you, whether it's $100 or even 0.001 of a dollar, can be immediate, can be completely secure, can flow beautifully between one currency and another currency, and you and I wouldn't even know about it or care about it. It just happens. And I think we are some way from that reality. We have to, in the industry, do a lot of deep improvement work. And again, what we're doing in RTGS Global is part of that, because we're attacking the holding and movement of money, which is at the heart of the problem. But with our project, our company, and other innovators, I think you'll see a shift to a very different way that people think about moving money. It's kind of natural. So, we shouldn't have to pause and think about paying someone for a coffee or paying someone, friends and family or daughters and sons studying overseas. It should just happen. That's the vision. It may be 10, 20, 30. It's always difficult to put a date on this. Bill Gates used to say that most people correctly foresee what's ultimately going to happen, but get the date wrong. So in many cases, people think, oh, it'll be different in 5 years. It's not. But you look back in 20, it's completely changed. The internet's a good example of that. So when you open your iPhone or your Samsung or whatever, you have thousands, millions of apps that you could download and use, and they do wonderful things. But if you had that conversation in 1995 and said, okay, what could you create to run on a smartphone, if you could imagine what a smartphone would look like? Nobody would have an idea. Nobody would know. So I think embracing change and accepting that big changes do happen, but maybe take longer sometimes than you think, is a good way of looking at the banking world. So in some point in the future, we'll have a world where, like our iPhones, things are available that just aren't available today. The groundwork is being laid now for that. But I think a future of immediate movement of money and lots of value add around that is within our grasp.